Hey guys, thanks for stopping by the Soul Beauty Chat podcast. My name is Fatima, and I empower young women to find their God given purpose through faith and practical advice. I do this through one on one coaching, my podcast, and also my YouTube channel, where I host weekly live Soul Beauty Chats where we discuss a topic. We have prayer and a Q&A session, and that is every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So welcome if this is your first time to my podcast. Today's episode is actually going to be all about self-love and self-care. This is an area that I've been focusing on a lot lately, and I touched on it a little bit in some of my previous podcasts, but I want to dig a little deeper into it today and talk about how I like to restore my energy. Restoring energy is huge, especially for myself, since I would consider myself an introvert, definitely like extreme scale of introversion. I actually took the Myers-Briggs personality test sometime last year, and I had my friends take it over the past weekend, and surprisingly we were like very similar, or like the same. Well, yeah, really similar. We were both INs, which is introvert, intuitive, and then there was mine is IN FJ, so feeling and judging. And if you haven't tried it before, I would definitely suggest that you check it out. It's really interesting and it teaches you a lot about yourself. But I was the advocate, and I just been thinking a lot lately, and like just being in tune with my body and paying attention to how I feel. And today was one of those days where I had to exert a lot of extrovert energy. And I believe that as humans, we kind of all have a balance. Some of us just have like a more extreme of one and a lesser version of the other one. I definitely have more of a natural introvert side to me, but I do have extrovert qualities within me. And today I actually kind of had to tap into that. And I think that it's as much as sometimes I can dread those situations, I actually really do enjoy it when I'm in the flow of it, when I realize that I'm tapping into that side of me that I tend to not acknowledge enough. Like, now that there's a label, like I can associate a label with how I am, where before I used to be reserved or shy or quiet, and now I can associate it with introvert, and I feel like it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's just who I am. I feel more proud about it. Like I almost say it as if like, like it's a thing. It's accepted. It's not negative. That's just who I am. You're either an introvert or an extrovert. But a lot of us fall in the middle. And although I do feel like I said, naturally I'm more inclined to be an introvert, I still have those sides of me and those parts of me that are extroverted. And today was one of those days where that kind of came out. So this morning I was really tired. Actually, I've been really tired a lot lately. And I'm just drinking some tea right now. It's actually it's called Well Rested Tea by Trader Joe's. It's a herbal tea, and it's pretty early. It's only 6:46, but your girl is tired, so I'm winding down early. So I was really tired throughout the day, and just like for the past few weeks, I feel like I've been exhausted all the time. And as you guys know, I am on a fitness journey. So today I actually weighed myself. I tried to only weigh myself once per week, and I was 137.6 pounds. I usually don't count the point whatever, but I would say 138 for good measure. Like I would prefer to round up than to round down. So yeah, let's say 138. And when I first started working out back in February, it was like February 15th actually, I was 143. And now I'm down to 148. So I've lost about 5 pounds, which is really exciting. It's weird though, because I feel like I don't see it that much in my body. At least not yet. I feel like at some point I will start to notice it. I feel like I notice it in subtle places, but it's not like dramatic the way I want it. My goal is to actually get down to about 127, which is basically gives me like another, like a 10 pounds that I want to lose, 15 altogether. And that's basically just because I want to, one, I want to challenge myself, and two, I want to really transform my body. Like, I remember when I was about 127 to 130, that's when I looked the best in my opinion. So trying to push myself to get back to that. But 10 pounds is a lot of weight. So if somewhere in there I feel like my body looks fine and I'm satisfied, I'll definitely stop. I'm not like stuck on a rigid number. And also, muscle weighs a lot more than fat. So if I'm building muscle, but I'm also getting more tone and looking better, then I honestly am not going to care about those 10 pounds. It's really just about how I look and how I feel, to be honest. So right now, I'm feeling tired. I can say that I'm seeing some definition though, which is exciting. And if you're watching on YouTube, actually comment down below and let me know if you're on a fitness journey, and if so, how that's going for you. So after I came from the gym, well, while I was at the gym, actually, there's a sauna in my gym, which is so awesome because I literally feel like I'm at the spa. And I decided I've decided that after I work out, if I have the time, usually like towards Thursday and Friday, I try to make time to spend a decent amount of time in the sauna, like to really just relax and unwind. And that is like my thing that I do for myself every week, where I spend like that 15 minutes just in deep, deep meditation. And it feels so amazing to do it. It feels so amazing to just decide for myself that even though it's the middle of the week, even though I have work to do, even though I have a job, even though I'm not balling, like I get to have this luxurious experience for a moment. That's what that feels like to me. Like I'm treating myself to a spa day before I go to work, which is awesome. So I spent that time in the sauna. I had a deep meditation. It was so beautiful. And I just spent time just affirming things about myself, affirming that I love my body exactly the way it is, affirming that I appreciate my body for being strong and for carrying me throughout the day. And similar to the affirmations that I shared in the self-love podcast, if you haven't heard it, go and check it out. And I just went over those affirmations in my mind about how I appreciate my body. I love my body where it is. I respect my body. And all of those are different forms of self-care for me. And so after I left the sauna, I went to work, and actually, before I went to work, I made sure I took my time getting ready. Like, I'm very huge on not rushing because that makes me feel like I'm not treating my body properly. I like to ease into my day as much as possible. So I like to wake up and take as much time as I need. I like to, like, people who know me know that I can be really slow when it comes to certain things because the idea of rushing gives me anxiety. Rushing gives me anxiety, which is, to me, is not a loving feeling, is not a loving space to be in. So I choose to take my time with most things, whether that be walking down the street or going to the bathroom, whatever it is, I really take my time. And that can frustrate people sometimes, but I choose to honor that and honor myself in that space because I know that for me, that's what brings me the most peace. And that is a self-care practice in itself. Being aware of what works for you and what doesn't work for you and doing the things that make you feel good. So I took my time to get ready. I got dressed. I moisturized my body with my delicious shea butter. Like I just took my sweet time getting ready. And I go into work. And I knew that later in the afternoon, I would have to go out and basically collect what is called career stories, where we go out, we meet strangers on the street, we talk to them about their careers. And that's a very extroverted thing to do. And I I was dreading it. I'm not going to lie. I was dreading it throughout the day because the idea of taking myself out of my bubble of comfort makes me uncomfortable. Knowing that, okay, I'm going to have to talk to people. I'm going to have to make sure I don't have anything in my teeth. And I'm like concerned about my hair. I'm like, is my hair going to be, am I going to be approachable? That's a podcast in itself, honestly, because the way my hair is today, it's basically just like in flat twists to the back, kind of if I had cornrows, but I can't cornrow. literally like Cleo from Set It Off. Basically, that's who I look like today. But I had on, red lipstick and mascara, but I genuinely did not feel like putting on a wig, and I was like, I'm not going to. And I also didn't want to take my hair out, so I was just like, I'm just gonna leave it, like, this is me. So but that's a whole nother podcast, and thumbs up if you want to hear a podcast on hair and the perception and all of that stuff. But this makes me think that maybe I should update the description of this podcast, because I definitely talk about a little bit of everything. Like, although I talk about faith on this podcast, I don't only talk about faith. So maybe I'll update that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But yeah, so I knew that I had to do this project, have you, and I was dreading it a bit, but it was very interesting when I started doing it. It was myself and another coworker, and when we started doing it, I noticed myself tapping into that extroverted side of myself that is there, but only comes out when I force it out. Like, it doesn't come out naturally in most cases, unless I am in a setting where I feel super, super comfortable, usually smaller groups. Or if I'm talking about something that I'm a master in, then I have no problem stepping up and being that extrovert. But if I'm in a large group, or if I'm in a large setting with people that I don't know, I suddenly feel myself reducing and like getting small. And today was one of those moments where I really felt myself in that state of grace, as I heard, I believe Russell Simmons put it in one of his books, which is basically just like this flow that you tap into where things just feel effortless and they feel easy, and you don't have to think about it so much. And all of the fear and anxiety that you have right before doing it is suddenly vanishes once you start doing it. And that's what I tapped into today. And it was a really nice reminder that I don't have to believe every story that I tell myself about my personality. I think because I am introverted, I spend so much time in deep self-reflection and figuring out who I am and what I like. And oftentimes I attach that label to myself, and then I don't allow myself to be anything outside of that label. And today was like a really good reminder that, yeah, naturally I'm an introvert, but that doesn't mean that I don't have extroverted qualities. Because when I tell you I tapped into it, and it was just like conversation just came natural. I was smiling, I was laughing, I was doing all the things that I would look at an extrovert person do and think like, oh, that would make me so uncomfortable, or oh, I would hate to have to do that. But I was doing it with ease, and it was just a good reminder. It actually reminded me of back when I was interning, and I remember I had to step out of my comfort zone a lot. Like, I'll give you guys one example. If you don't know, I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York because when I was younger, I wanted to be a designer and a stylist. And although I still love those things, like, I could totally still see myself having a clothing line or like an accessory shop or something of that sort. And I still sketch sometimes when I feel like it. So that part of me is still there. But when I was in college, that was like my thing. That was like my jam. So I remember I was interning for Vibe.com, like Vibe magazine, but the online platform. And I had to cover for the stylist that I was working closely with, directly with. I had to cover a red carpet event for an Alicia Keys like magazine cover event. I can't remember the magazine. I want to say it was like Gotham or something. And it was so many celebrities that were going to be there. Alicia Keys, of course. And I had to interview them. And I was terrified. I was so terrified. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to go up to these celebrities and interview them and ask them questions and not be awkward and weird and uncomfortable. There's no way that I'm going to be able to do it. And I remember this day so perfectly. I remember exactly what I had on. I remember down to a T what I wore, what my hair was like. And I remember standing on the red carpet, and I see like Alicia Keys coming down, getting closer to my side. And I'm like, oh, here she comes. Like, oh crap. So I have all my questions ready. I have my phone ready to record. And I remember, like, as I started asking her questions, tapping into that same feeling that I tapped into today, which is like when you just connect with the person and you realize that they're just another human being. They're just like you. They're just like me. Nothing really sets them apart aside from the fact that we know who they are, but they're just another human being. And it's something about that that's just so comforting, and it just allows you to remove that stress of feeling like you have to live up to a certain standard when you're interacting with someone that is a celebrity or of influence. And that feeling followed me over and over again. Like when I was working in the beauty industry, covering a lot of different events and going to like these huge events with like Dove and like all of these like celebrities and celebrity stylists. And I'm just like, I almost felt like I was too small to be in the room sometimes. And it took me a while to realize that if you're in the room, you're there for a reason. You're supposed to be there. And it's so funny. This speaks exactly to the podcast that I listened to earlier by Sarah Jakes, where she talked about, I think it was a Wednesday night service at One Church LA. And she talked about like being in the room. Like if you're in the room, she kept saying that over and over again. And that ties in perfectly with what I'm talking about of like just allowing yourself to fully embrace whatever moment or season that you're in and fully embrace who you are, like to really show up as yourself, regardless of what you look like, regardless of if you're having a good hair day or a bad hair day, if you have breakouts on your face or not. Valuing yourself enough to say, this is me, and I'm going to show up and be present regardless of how it can be perceived on the outside. It's like having that true, deep, like reverence of who you are on the inside, that your outside doesn't matter so much, that you're allowed to kind of tune out those lies that you tell yourself about, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I don't look my best today, or I don't know what to say. Like tuning that out and tapping into who you really are, because who you really are is the person that's in that moment right now, the person that was presented with that moment. That's who you really are. And connecting with that is so powerful. And I feel like that is a huge part of self-love. That in itself is self-love. You're fully accepting yourself. You're fully accepting that this is who I am in this moment, flaws and alls, and I'm just going to show up as I am. And that's a scary thing to do, and it's something that takes time. It takes practice, but it feels so nice to finally be in that place. It feels so nice to just like, I feel like I just let my hair down, or like I just took my bra off. You know that feeling when you get home and you take your bra off and you're just like, whoo, child, like thumbs up this video if you're listening on YouTube, if you love that feeling as much as I do. But that's how I feel about life right now. I feel like I just show up as myself because I've stopped telling myself that I'm not good enough or that I'm not something enough to be in that moment. That I'm not smart enough, that I don't have the skills, that I don't have the experience. Like I stopped telling myself all of that stuff. And now I just feel like I can just kick my feet up and get comfortable. Like this is me. Like I can let my gut hang loose. I can unbutton my jeans. Like that's how I feel now in my life. I feel so much more present because I'm not holding on to those false ideas and those false identities that I had around myself. And I feel like that was a really long rant, but I hope you guys understand what I mean. And I want you to actually do a few things. Comment down below and let me know if you identify more with being an introvert or an extrovert. And then what I want you to do is also, I want you to share openly and honestly about any ideas or false stories or lies that you have been telling yourself about your personality, about who you are as a person. What have you been telling yourself? And this can even be a journal exercise, but I would love if you guys would share it in the comments. But how has those thoughts affected how you live your life? Because I just shared for me how it affected me. Like I used to live my life very closed off. I used to live my life very in secret almost. I felt like I was never really giving the truest parts of myself to people or situations because I was so concerned that I wouldn't be accepted. And I'm not gonna lie, I still do it sometimes in some situations. Like I find myself putting up a wall before I give people the benefit of the doubt and let them in to see my real personality. But I've gotten so much better, guys. Like there was once upon a time where like I didn't even tell my best friend stuff. Like they wouldn't even know what was going on with me because I would just keep it so tight within. Like I would just hold on to like my deepest feelings because I didn't want to put them out there. And that's such a limiting way to live life. Such a limiting way. And yeah, I really hope that this episode helps you to gain some clarity on what false truths you may be telling yourself about your personality, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. I think those beliefs and those ideas that we create around ourselves are can be really harmful sometimes. And it's important that we take some time to just focus on what we're constantly telling ourselves all day about our personality, whether it's you're not good enough or that's not the way it should be or someone else is like this, whatever it is, it's important to tune into it. And I like to do that through journaling. Journaling is a great way for me to reflect on how I feel. Another way to get that out would be to simply, like I said, to share in the comments. And I can almost guarantee you that how you feel, someone else is probably feeling the same way. Like you're so not alone in the way that you're feeling. But yeah, that is what I wanted to share today. Let me just check my notes really quickly. I feel like I got so off script, but I shared so many good insights that I'm excited that we talked about it. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. If you guys have any questions for me, as always, you can send me an email. I love to answer questions here on the podcast. So if you have like a long question that you want me to go into detail about, feel free to drop that in my mailbox, which is soulbeautychat@gmail.com, and I'll definitely answer it on the podcast. Or just comment on YouTube. I love when you guys comment and engage. It makes me so happy. So keep doing it, please. I appreciate it so much. And that is it for tonight. So I hope that you guys are having a lovely night, and I will see you or talk to you very, very soon.